My name is Ryan, and we're at Game 3 of the Stanley Cup playoffs versus the Washington Capitals, and you are watching Post to Post.
Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. Ryan, thank you very much for that intro. I appreciate it, buddy. So this series is the final series to get over. That was a pretty crazy ending.
Was it ever?
To be honest, I thought Washington was going to take that overtime.
I thought going back home for Game 7, that was going to be a dominating Washington team with the chance to repeat in the Stanley Cup, knowing how important it was and how good it felt last year. I thought Carolina would be blown out of the arena.
Based on the first period,
yeah,
they kind of did take that commanding presence.
Really? And Carolina was down 3-1.
Why is your collar popped?
I'm sorry.
Hashtag pop collar.
Pop collar.
Yeah, that first period was a pretty domination fest for Washington, in my opinion. Specifically, the first 10 minutes, they were all over Carolina. And Carolina looked like, I think I said this in Discord. Does Carolina know they're playing a Game 7? Because it looked like they were an AHL team for that first 10 minutes of that game. But there's two words I want to say. Both have to do with Carolina. Resiliency and patience. I thought were super key components of the Carolina team in that game. They got down in that game. They came back. Washington scored again. They came back. And tied it.
Yep.
Sent it to overtime. Showed resiliency. Showed patience in the overtime. They didn't panic. I felt like they didn't panic that entire game, regardless of what the score was. They didn't panic.
In the first overtime, which I watched basically live, tape to live, they had a clip at one point of Rod Brindamore behind the bench with some of the other coaches. And he was loose as could be. He was, smirking and smiling and cracking some jokes. If that was me back there, there'd be veins the size of this finger on my forehead. I would be so stressed out. He was as cool as a cucumber, and I don't know if it came from him or he's getting it from his team. But you're right. They were calm. They were just going to do their business. They were going to try their best. They weren't playing like their hair was on fire or that any second they could lose the entire season.
They were playing like they knew the outcome of the game before it happened. They were just kind of waiting for it to happen. Like they knew that they were going to win in a way. They just were kind of waiting for the right opportunity, and it was kind of strange. Usually there's a lot of and it's not like they didn't have urgency. They definitely had a lot of chances. Holtby was great, by the way.
He was
in overtime.
He was
fantastic. I don't blame him for that goal. It was just a really pretty pick out of the air by Carolina there. So I don't blame Holtby. I thought he was great in the overtime. Not so great earlier in the game. He let in some pretty soft goals, unfortunately, which is very un-Holtby-like.
Usually. Like, the reason Holtby didn't start the playoffs last year is because he was having
but that's
a former Holtby-like season. But that Holtby's still in there somewhere, and he showed up a little bit.
He's been pretty consistent.
Oh,
He's been pretty consistent his entire career. I would say the months leading up to the playoffs that you're talking about, you are correct.
Yeah. There was something was off. But for the most part, he's an excellent goalie, and he performs very well.
He's very good.
Every night.
On the other end of the ice, we got Mrazek, who I thought was probably Carolina's best player. One of their best players.
He was great.
And it's not like he didn't let in soft goals too. Mrazek let in some soft goals. I'm not blind, but I thought that he was clutch. Like there were points in that overtime where he made incredible saves. Points in the third period specifically too, where he made unreal saves. There was one point where the puck was going behind him, going to go in the net, and I can't remember who it was, Slavin or whatever, knocked the puck out. And so there was a couple times where the pucks did kind of squeeze through him a little bit, but it never ended up in goals late in the game. They were able to take it to overtime. So Mrazek definitely has a lot to play in that. So
and that first overtime period, I didn't think it would go to a second overtime.
Honestly, I thought it was going to end really quickly.
Yeah, and they played, and there were fewer commercial breaks and TV timeouts. Overtime, by the time a network gets to overtime, they've already sold all their commercials and they've played all their commercials. So there's a lot less slagging around and delaying of things. They just do it.
Did you see the non-call on when Washington put the puck?
I did. I did see that.
Did you see when Carolina did it, and then they called it?
I did see that too.
I agree with how that played out because Obviously, the first one should have been a penalty. They talked about it, but no one would bet their house on that they saw it inside the blue line.
That's right. And it's not like they didn't even know that there was a potential of a penalty. The 4 stripes had a huddle, probably a good minute or two, and talked it all over and made a decision based on what the 4 of them saw from whatever 4 angles they had. And even on the replay, he's close to the blue line. He's really close when he finally lets that puck go.
Yeah.
So I could see that all 4 would see it as him successfully crossing the blue line, because for icing calls, if you're that close to the center line when you ice the puck, they never call it icing.
Yeah, that's true.
Really. So I was okay with that. But when Carolina got called, it was much more blatant because you're in your own zone.
It was. And
deeply.
they saw it. Like,
and they saw
100%.
It. They saw it. So it was automatically one of these. And I thought to myself, oh, man, it's not as egregious as the night before with the blindness. But if Carolina doesn't kill this off, this will now become an issue as well because of the first non-call.
Yes.
But Carolina killed off that penalty. Everything evened out. And the world unfolded later on as it should.
Yeah, and it's a pretty specific penalty, too. There's no subjectivity to this penalty at all, like some of the other penalties out there. So I'm like, I know that Carolina fans were upset that wasn't called, but if the refs, they're human. They're not perfect. If they didn't see it, they didn't see it, and that's fine.
Yep.
I was cheering for Carolina. I wanted them to win. I was upset that it didn't get called, but I thought the refs did a good, smart decision there and didn't call that just because maybe it was like they made the right decision, which unfortunately was the wrong decision, but it was the right decision for them.
It ended up being the wrong decision, but they tried to make the right decision.
Exactly.
And
That's what counts.
They brought all the tools to that decision that they had available to them, and that's the result they came up with. And that's all you can hope for.
Yeah, exactly.
And Carolina, they didn't lose their nut when they got called. They didn't go crazy. Brendan Moore didn't bounce around and start throwing things. Let's just kill this penalty off, guys. And they did.
Yep, absolutely.
And now they've won the game.
Exactly.
Woo!
It was a pretty good Game 7.
It really was.
Just some quick notes. Just so you guys know, this video isn't going to be as in-depth as the other series recaps. It is currently 8:24 p.m. as we're filming this. The Boston game
Atlantic
is,
time.
I believe, on.
It's underway now.
It's on right now. So we actually, it's a pretty busy day, so we didn't get a chance to sit down and film this till now. So we really want to go. We want to go watch that, and so this is just gonna be quicker than normal. Also, we were thinking about doing series previews for the upcoming series, but there's just not enough time considering one is underway right now. So
Excuse me.
Maybe if you stick around to the end of this video, we'll just quickly tell you who we want to win each series, and
Completely.
that'll be that.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to talk about Washington just in general over the series.
Sure.
I really thought they played pretty strong most of the games. 2 games they kind of didn't show up to, but I would say overall Washington played very similar to how they played last year in the playoffs. I thought they played pretty well. Any team that makes it to a Game 7 usually plays pretty well. So Ovechkin, I thought he had a really good series, but in Game 6, I thought that he was one of their worst players based on emotion. He got them in trouble.
He did.
A couple times.
He did.
He threw some tantrums. And I don't like to say that because I really love Ovechkin, but he was chirping the refs. I mean, he got thrown out of the game.
He got a misconduct at the end of it.
Misconduct.
Yep.
He was being a little slashy, a little chippy. It's a high emotion game. I understand it, but I've seen high emotion Ovechkin before, but I've never seen him that frustrated, and vocally towards the refs and stuff. So that was a bit unusual to see. So I didn't like that from Ovechkin, but otherwise, in Game 7, I thought he was much more calm.
Yep.
Even after the game, he was smiling a little bit and congratulating the other some players on the Carolina side.
He took it really
He did.
well.
He took it very respectfully, and I really like to see that. So maybe someone had to talk with him after Game 6. I'm not sure, but I thought Holtby, Carolina had some amazing chances in this series, and Holtby had some highlight reel saves. So just major props to Holtby in some of these games that he played. It was just crazy saves. I think that Washington kind of ran into a hot goalie a little bit. Mrazek doesn't have the best playoff experience, but he has played in the playoffs before. He's a very good goaltender, specifically this year. And I think one of the reasons, or maybe one of the main reasons that Washington lost is because Mrazek played so well in this series. Sometimes it just happens. You run into a hot goalie. Sometimes you're playing a hot goalie and you barely win. Vegas against LA last year in the playoffs with Jonathan Quick.
There you go.
Sometimes it takes everything just to beat the goalie so you can win the game. But yeah, it sucks when you run into hot goalies. Sometimes it happens, but the loss of TJ Oshie I thought was pretty significant.
Yeah.
I read a lot of people online saying they didn't think it was that significant, that Oshie doesn't contribute as much as most people think to Washington, and I actually disagree with that. I'm not the biggest Oshie fan, but I think he does a lot of important things on the ice. He might not put up 100 points every year, but he's a pretty big guy. He likes to throw his body around. He's kind of like Backstrom. He likes to set up plays. He's got a great shot as well. I really like Oshie's game. I think it was a big loss to Washington, and it's unfortunate that he was out of the lineup. Carl Hagelin, I thought, was rather invisible this series.
He had some flashes.
He did, and that's it though.
Yeah.
But if you think back to Carl Hagelin in Pittsburgh, he wasn't putting up a ton of points or anything, but he was an impact player.
He was everywhere.
He was everywhere, and I didn't think that he was even close to being the same player that he was in Pittsburgh. Maybe he's injured, I don't know. And he did have flashes. There were points where he did look pretty good. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I felt like he was a bit invisible in this series. So just wanted to mention that a little bit. Do you have anything else to say about Washington?
Just my standard thing. I think when Kuznetsov got that third goal and did the bird, he only did 2 flaps. He didn't do a whole, not the length of the ice. He just did 2 flaps. But I thought, and they were going up 3-1 at that point. I thought, I already wanted Washington to lose. But when he did the bird, I said, let's punish that.
I like the bird now.
I don't like the bird. I've never liked the bird. And I know why he does it. We had that conversation before, or supposedly why he does it. I just don't like it.
Do you want to know a fun fact?
Yes, I always do.
There's a picture on the thumbnail, which you haven't seen yet.
Right.
Of Kuznetsov doing the bird.
Well, his bird got a little roasted yesterday.
It did, yeah, the roasted bird. Carolina, I thought Mrazek deserved this series win. To play so well and then to lose that series, I would feel very bad for Mrazek. But he definitely deserved that win. Look how he celebrated when did you see that?
Yeah, he did the long.
Yeah, he just skated and dove. It was amazing. So
they did almost a wave in the opposing team's rink. He dove and he slid. I thought at first he fell.
Oh, really?
That he was skating so fast and he got caught up in his own equipment and he fell. And if he did fall, he certainly sold it well as a dive and a swim instead.
Exactly.
It was great. You could just see how excited he was.
Heck
He
yeah.
worked so hard for that game. He worked so hard in the series. And Mrazek's, I think, always been a good goalie. He's never always been on a good team.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And now he's a good goalie on a good team. And he's protected a little better. Although when he does have chances on him, he often will make the big save that he has to make. And it's exciting for him.
Did you see the post-game interview with him?
I did not.
He talked about how he was really, really tired after the first overtime.
Oh,
He was
wow.
very tired after the first overtime, so he was glad that it was over, basically.
Wow.
So anyways, he looked tired. There was sweat all over him.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hockey, and it's not like, players go back to the bench and they sit down. Goalie standing up for basically 5 hours at that point almost. So
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. Not 5 consecutive hours, but whatever.
But still, it's a lot.
You know what I mean.
I do.
I thought Aho underperformed this series. Did you?
I guess, but only a little. Last night he showed up and he got the first goal for Carolina. And that's really the first time that I saw him being a factor. I did not watch every game. I watched the highlights of all the games, but I didn't watch every game start to finish. So I really don't have a super duper informed opinion on him. But he, even last night, I did watch basically the whole game. I didn't hear his name being called very often.
Me either. And he did get points. I think he had 5 points in 7 games or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's not like he didn't contribute. He did. But I just felt like he's their guy. I think he should get 10 points. This is the playoffs. I wanted to see a little bit more intensity from him. Mm-hmm. I noticed that he was giving the puck away a little bit because he was scared to get hit. He was a little scared to get in on the boards and stuff like that. So I was a bit underwhelmed by Aho, and you know how much I like Aho. He's my favorite player on Carolina.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to see a little bit more intensity from him. He messed up the 2-on-1 there, I think, in the third period. The second 2-on-1 that he messed up in the overtime, it just jumped over his stick so that wasn't his fault. But
that happens.
Yeah. Anyways.
I think there's a lot of pressure on him.
Oh, there definitely
he's a
is.
phenomenal player. Phenomenal. Now, with the new series and at least 4 games, do we see Svechnikov come back?
I would say no.
He was skating in a no-contact jersey a few days ago, but he looked pretty good on the ice. Like he seemed to have good skills and good coordination going on. So I don't know how close he is to coming back, but that might help things if he is able to draw back into the lineup. But in the meantime, your core group has to be that much better again now playing the Islanders. I think Washington might have done this a bit, and I don't think Carolina necessarily did this on purpose, but I think there's a little more gas left in their tank to play at a slightly higher level than they've been playing. They played well enough to beat Washington. They could have easily been beaten by Washington with that same level of effort. But I think they have more to give. I think they're still gelling as a team, and they will get better as time goes on. I don't know if they have what it takes to go too much farther, but we're going to see. They've been a surprise so far, surprise all season, and they continue to impress. And I'm very impressed with them.
Washington's was a pretty tough opponent for them.
Absolutely.
And now they're playing a team that has a completely different style of play. So not only are you have to switch teams, you have to switch your mindset, like mentally how you're going to play hockey and defend against a different team and attack against a different team, because the style of hockey between Washington and the Islanders is completely different. Barry Trotz.
Barry Trotz.
So, Carolina's going to have a hard time scoring goals.
They are.
A really hard time. And they don't score a lot of goals in general. Usually, in the series, we saw it a couple times, but sometimes they do have trouble scoring goals. So, this is going to be a real challenge for Carolina. But Rod Brind'Amour, did you see his post-game chat he had with the players in the dressing room?
No, I didn't see that.
Mrazek was the last one. I think he was being interviewed.
Right.
And Brind'Amour followed him in. He was so animated when he came in, and not like with his hands or like yelling and stuff, but he was moving. He literally walked around the room like this as he was talking. Like he was very excited, and it wasn't like a coach. It was like a friend. Like it was
a big fan.
It was a Gerard Gallant kind of
Yeah.
relationship that I felt. He was calling the guys by their nicknames and stuff. He threw a puck over to whoever it was, McGinn or whoever it was. I don't even know. But I really think that Rod Brind'Amour might be my new favorite coach in the NHL.
And we talked offline a couple of days ago about Brind'Amour, and I even online, I've conveyed my respect for how he has handled himself through adversity, through penalty non-calls, and that time that he went at Steve Kozari and then shut it off 5 minutes later, or 15 seconds later, whatever it was, and then gave an interview, and he was calm, cool as a cucumber. And just his whole demeanor on the bench last night, I didn't see the interview afterwards, but I just watched him on the bench whenever they zoomed in on him, and he was having a ball. And oftentimes when a player becomes a coach, it's not an easy transition. And it's often, probably I'd say usually, not a successful transition. Coaches and players see the game in such different ways that for a player to become a coach, well, like when Wayne Gretzky coached Arizona or Phoenix for a while, like that just did not translate well. Now, there's other times when it does. But I really think Brind'Amour's history with the team, his level of maturity that he has now, he's seeing the game from the player's angle. And he's one of the guys, except he's got a suit on.
And there's a lot of coaches in the NHL who've played in the NHL. Gerard Gallant, Travis Green, Phil Housley. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if it's the right way to coach and try and be their friend, but it seems to kind of be working with Vegas and Carolina.
It works for a while.
Yeah.
And hey, maybe it'll work for the rest of the.
And maybe it only works with a certain group of players.
Yeah.
Maybe if Gerard Gallant went away from Vegas and he went to Nashville, same tactic, maybe it wouldn't work. I don't know. So, anyways, I just wanted to bring up Rod Brind'Amour to say some positive things about
It's all about chemistry in the dressing room and behind the bench, and he is a positive contributor to a good chemistry on the team. He's great.
3 players that I thought had a really good series for Carolina were Slavin, Fogle, and specifically Stahl.
Yeah.
I have never been a fan of any of the Stahl brothers. I don't know why. I just haven't. Usually because they play really well against the Montreal Canadiens, and that's my favorite team. But I thought Stahl was an absolute beast in this series. He was playing at 110% the entire time. He was so great in the offensive zone, controlling the puck and cycling the puck and creating plays. He was probably one of my favorite players for Carolina this series, and I would not have predicted that I would have said that before the series started. That's all I have to say. That's it. That's all my notes.
That's it?
That's it.
I thought the winning goal was great. It's another goal that was a little bit of a tricky goal, but it wasn't a controversial goal.
Exactly. Yes. Thank goodness.
And Justin Williams put a great shot on net for McGinn to do the tip in or the tip over or whatever really it was. So it's nice to see Williams involved in that final play.
Yep.
I'll never forget his 2006 cause of injury to Saku Koivu. I'll never forget that, and I'll never fully forgive him for that. But I was really impressed with him last night, too. For an older guy, he is the leader of the team.
Oh, absolutely.
And I remember when I think he's on his last year. I think he's a UFA at the end of this year, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure.
And I think we talked about captains generally and who should be captains maybe next year, who should be grooming. He's the perfect guy to be captain of Carolina this year. And he's leading by his own hard work, and I think is rubbing off.
Do you know his record in Game 7?
I have no idea. Oh, I do. He's like the top. Isn't he the top point getter in Game 7s?
He was 7
active players?
I think he was 7-0 before last year, and right now he's 8-1.
Yeah. And his own personal stats, goals and assists
Yeah, it's
in Game
ridiculous.
7s are crazy. That's right. I did see that at the beginning of the game, not knowing how it was going to end, and now seeing him involved in the primary assist on the winning goal in double overtime.
Yeah. Did you see Pierre McGuire interview him after the game?
I did see that.
Did you hear what Pierre McGuire said mid-game about him?
Remind me.
Pierre McGuire said that he does not like to be called Mr. Game 7. He doesn't like.
Oh, is that right?
He doesn't like that nickname. He doesn't want to be classified as that. Guess what the first thing that Pierre McGuire said to Justin Williams? Hey, Mr. Game 7. If you're telling millions of people watching hockey that he doesn't like to be called Mr. Game 7, and then you literally, person to person, call him Mr. Game 7, what are you doing?
I didn't hear that during the middle of the game.
I couldn't believe it.
Between whistles, I was hitting the 30-second ahead button, so hopefully I missed, or probably that's why I missed McGuire's comment mid-game.
Maybe they're friends. Maybe he was just teasing him. I don't know. But
well,
it was weird to hear him say that and then contradict himself and say whatever.
If Pierre McGuire's doing the game, you're going to be able to say something was weird
That's
before
true.
the game's over.
That's true. Okay, so the series, Washington, Carolina over.
Okay.
Round 2 begins. Welcome to extended content. So, round 2, Boston, Columbus. That game's going on right now. I have no idea what the score is.
I don't either.
Who do you think wins this series? You don't have to give me your explanations or anything like that. You can give me a prediction and you can give me who you want to win.
I want Columbus to win.
Yes.
I don't know now. I don't know.
Well, you have to make a prediction.
I have to. It's part of the contract.
It's rules.
It's the rules. If I don't make a prediction, I don't get paid.
You don't get to appear.
Oh, I'm the co-host. It says it right down there.
Got to predict.
I'll predict.
I'll have to move you back to guest.
My prediction is Boston wins the series.
Oh, snap.
But I don't want that to happen.
I want Columbus to win, and I'm predicting Columbus to win.
And I hope you're right.
Boom.
Good.
The Islanders in Carolina.
60-40 Islanders I want, and 60-40 Islanders I think will win.
Ooh, I want the Islanders to win, and I am predicting the Islanders to win.
Me too.
St. Louis and Dallas.
This is the toughest one. I really like both teams. And I have lots of good reasons on both teams to like them. I love the story that Dallas has become, and I even slightly more love the story St. Louis has become this year, especially since the beginning of 2019, where they were then and where they are now. Mm-hmm. I think it's a 51-49 thing. I think it'll probably go all 7 games.
I think it's going to be close.
I think St. Louis to win this, and if they don't, I'll be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think St. Louis has enough in the tank to take down Dallas in 7 games.
I think it's going to be, quite frankly, not that I want to say this, I think it's going to be boring hockey. Guess who dumps the puck the most in the NHL? the dump and chase game. Guess what 2 teams do it the most? St. Louis and Dallas. So it's going to be some pretty boring hockey potentially, but there's a lot of history between the 2 teams, so it's going to be a pretty decent series to watch, I think, if you're aware of the history and know the rivalry there. I think that St. Louis will win this series, but I'm cheering for Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah.
All other things being equal, you go down to Bishop versus Bennington. And Bishop, when he's healthy and when he's on, is one of the best in the game. Bennington doesn't have a long history of being able to prove himself, and this is where he makes that history. So far, he's on an awfully lucky streak, or he is the real deal. So we'll see.
One of the 2.
One of the 2.
Yeah, that's right.
All
right.
I would be okay if Dallas beat St. Louis. Maybe slightly disappointed for Jake Allen, of course, but I'd be at peace with it. But I think St. Louis is slightly edging for me.
San Jose and Colorado.
Hardcore, I want Colorado to win.
Oh, hardcore.
Hardcore. Absolutely hardcore. San Jose showed such strength when they played Vegas, but they used a lot of gas out of their tank. So I actually think Colorado will beat San Jose.
Oh, snap.
I really do, because I think San Jose, they're a big team, they're a banging around team, not a whole lot unlike Calgary. There's a lot of skill, there's a lot of big guys, and Colorado was able to handle that. They found a way. Colorado's had time to scout, they've had time to rest. I think they can get this done.
Do you see the average shot total per game from Colorado in the first round? 41, 41.6 or whatever it was.
And
then you think about San Jose and their defensive problems.
Yeah.
How many shots per game is Colorado going to get? 60? I'm genuinely afraid for Jones that even if he does be consistent and play well, that the amount of shots and pressure that Colorado can bring might sink the San Jose Sharks. With that said, I don't think Colorado is prepared for the offense that San Jose can bring. I think they saw some of it from Calgary, but not even close to the percentage that San Jose can bring it at. So I think they're prepared and they know what's coming, but I think they're unprepared for how it's going to play out. So I want San Jose to win. They're my second favorite team. I wouldn't be disappointed if Colorado won. I think this series specifically is the hardest to predict. I don't know who to choose. So I'm just going to say Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised. I thought you would, just even for sentimental value, if no other reason, you would. Are you reverse psychologying this?
Maybe.
Yeah. That's what's going on. Because we suck so bad at predictions, as everyone. So the entire world sucked at predictions.
Yeah.
If there's anyone who went to Las Vegas with a $100 bill in their hand 2 weeks ago and said, here's your final 8 teams in the second round, and I'm going to lay $100 on it, and got that right, that person is a genius.
Yeah.
And is obviously a time traveler, because there's no way you'd guess that.
If you just real quickly go back to the first round, did you pick Boston to advance? You did.
Okay, I did.
I did as well. Did you pick Columbus to advance?
I did not.
I did not. Did you pick the Islanders to advance?
I did.
I did as well. Did you pick Carolina to advance?
I did not.
I did not either. Did you pick St. Louis to advance?
I don't think I did.
You didn't. I did. Did you pick Dallas to advance? I think you might have, actually.
I think I might have, yeah.
I didn't.
Like, you've got my brackets over there somewhere, so I...
No, they're over there.
Oh.
San Jose, did you predict them to win? I don't think you
No,
did.
I didn't.
I did, luckily. Did you pick Colorado to advance?
No.
I did not either.
I don't. I think I picked Colorado to win one game.
I went 4 for 4. I got 4 right and 4 wrong.
Yeah, and I was worse.
The ones that I got right were fluky, and the ones that I got wrong were upsets.
Yeah.
Whatever, okay.
Well, I predicted a Calgary-Tampa final.
Yeah, you were.
So here I am, 2 weeks after predicting a Calgary-Tampa final, and it's now a metaphysical impossibility.
You just got owned.
I got owned big time. And great, because I didn't want a Calgary-Tampa final, frankly.
Me either.
I expected one, but I didn't really want one. I wanted a Vegas Islanders final or something like that, and even that won't happen now. But here's one thing we do know. We don't know much else, but we do know there's going to be a new Stanley Cup winner in 2019. And we also know that it's very likely going to be a team that hasn't won the Cup in a long, long time, if ever before.
Yep.
So when this team in 6 weeks' time skates around with the Cup in the air, it's going to be a magical moment, whoever it is.
Heck
Can't
yeah.
wait. Can't wait.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
All right, that wraps it up. Thanks, guys, for watching. I appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, I hope you can hit the subscribe button down below. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video. I'm not sure what that's going to be, but probably in a couple of days. So yeah, cheers, adios.